In the present, Masaki sits between the twins on a sofa, recalling how one scolded him for leaning too close to Fuka, leading to the bold claim that he is dating a twin. The narration says one of these glamorous girls being his girlfriend who happened to be a twin would not surprise anyone, then wonders how people would react if told this while both sisters cling to his arms. With both girls pressing tightly against him and teasing that he looks bold, Masaki stiffens, his hands freezing as the narration admits his situation is more complicated. Overwhelmed, Masaki suddenly starts groping both of them until one sister yells that it is enough, the other protests in shock, and their flirting erupts into flustered chaos. One sister, cheeks burning, clutches his arm and shyly complains that his hand is getting indecent, while the narration breathlessly notes that both of them are being stimulated. Masaki revels internally in the luxury of holding two soft flowers and wanting them both as his fingers sink into their chests and they moan. Afterward, Masaki shouts that they were the ones who told him to do it, while the Chibai twins casually apologize and insist they are really sorry. The sisters lean in close with mischievous smiles, saying they will make it up to him and repeatedly asking for his agreement in a coy, tempting tone. Their apology is both twins kissing his cheeks at once, leaving Masaki flushed and stunned as hearts float around them. Masaki reflects that being able to mess around with these beautiful twin sisters is only possible because they are a very special kind of twins, while they sit demurely side by side gazing at him. The narration reveals they are fraternal twins, showing playful images of Yuzuki and Fuka draped around Masaki as DNA strands spiral between them. A few days earlier in an empty classroom, Yuzuki had stood by a desk and loudly confessed that she liked Masaki. The story introduces her as Tsubasa Yuzuki, a charismatic Gyaru atop the school hierarchy, perfect in looks and social skills as she checks her phone. Flashbacks show her on magazine covers as a rising model, while the narration remarks that despite this promising career she had another side. Yuzuki cheerfully flashes a peace sign and says she simply got bored, the narration explaining she quit modeling after 6 months because she always lives at her own pace. Surrounded by excited classmates, the narration says this carefree personality constantly causes a stir, yet she remains friendly with everyone, naturally drawing people to her. Watching from afar, Masaki notes that even in all that friendliness there must be exceptions, hinting he might be one she treats differently. Yuzuki, shown close up, apologizes with a small tense smile, her eye revealing unease as she addresses someone. Masaki, cloaked in shadows, admits he is the exception, believing his intimidating face and physique make him the type who scares others just by standing there. On a crowded train where people keep their distance, he narrates that his life has become one where he is unconsciously avoided, and he has grown used to fearful looks. Back in the classroom, Yuzuki stands stiffly and apologizes directly to Masaki, calling him by his surname and showing rare seriousness. She quickly shifts to her usual brightness, telling him with a big smile to call her Yuzuki, breaking down social distance. Masaki, blushing in close-up, narrates that this is exactly how she has been treating him, leaving him flustered. He realizes he is not the only one she is casual with as he watches her cheerfully make other classmates call her by name, ignoring hierarchy. Seeing her laughing charm up close, he reflects that any teenager in puberty would have more than enough reason to be attracted to her. One day after school, when Yuzuki is alone in the classroom and it is his turn for cleaning duty, Masaki notes this is a rare chance to be with her by themselves. Clenching his fist, he decides it is now or never, and following his conviction to live boldly, resolves to speak from the heart. As she idly looks at her phone, he steels himself despite expecting almost certain rejection, convinced he has nothing to lose. Standing at the front of the empty room, he nervously begins to confess, stumbling over his words as he addresses Yuzuki. Before he can finish, Yuzuki interrupts with a grave expression and reveals that she has a twin sister. Masaki stands there baffled and full of question marks as she apologizes for answering him in such an unusual way. An exterior shot of Shuka Girls Academy appears as she explains that her twin sister attends that elite all-girls school nearby. Soft imagery of two identical girls holding hands shows that the sister's name is Fuka, and hints that if Masaki could be with them both, things would be different. Yuzuki then steps close, boldly saying she will go out with him on the condition that he is willing to date her twin sister too, shocking him. Masaki reels, sweating as he mentally repeats dating two twin sisters at once and wonders if that is really the requirement to become her boyfriend. Trying to regain composure, he starts to say that such a joke from Yuzuki is going too far, facing her serious gaze. Suddenly she switches to Chibai form, clasping her hands and shouting that she is really sorry, leaving Masaki confused. Laughing loudly, she insists it was obviously a joke and even the twin sister part was a lie, while he repeats joke in disbelief. She giggles behind her hand, telling him not to take it to heart and explaining that his overly serious expression made her want to tease him. As Masaki turns away saying he is heading home, she keeps apologizing lightly behind him, still smiling awkwardly. Before he can leave, she grabs his arm, shouting for him to wait and calling his name, clearly flustered that he might walk out. Masaki spins around, blurting with desperate intensity that he is in love with Yuzuki, startling her wide-eyed. He admits they are not even friends, yet he has been secretly watching her from afar, building up feelings alone. Yuzuki frowns thoughtfully and asks if he actually took her earlier talk about dating both twins seriously, suspecting he is not the type to mock a confession. Pouting and turning away with a huff, she asks what makes him think he knows her so well, while he says she is not someone who would joke about a love confession. Masaki concedes he does not know much about her beyond being classmates, but thumps his chest and insists he at least understands himself. He then declares that he could never love a woman who would toy with a serious confession, vowing he would never fall for such a person. As Yuzuki stares in shock. Seeing her try to brush it off as a cheap trick, he tightens his grip, deciding he cannot allow things to end ambiguously. He tells her that if the Yuzuki he loves truly meant those earlier words, then he has an answer ready. With fierce resolve, Masaki shouts that he will do it and accept dating both of them, committing to her outrageous condition. Yuzuki, blushing and looking away, says she is just like him in that she does not lie or joke about important matters and promises she will do whatever it takes to make this work. In chibai form, she double-checks if he is really serious about doing whatever it takes, and he responds sheepishly but firmly yes. His imagination explodes as he pictures a steamy threesome with both sisters, loudly saying he would even accept that if they wanted, while an exasperated Yuzuki yells that nobody asked him to go that far. Yuzuki composes herself and says that since he agreed she will not tell him he cannot do it, while he freaks out that she is actually not refusing. Their classmates suddenly appear at the door calling out to Yuzu, and both Masaki and Yuzuki jerk in surprise. The girls invite Yuzuki to a weekend outing, asking if they can meet up earlier, and she happily agrees, calling the timing perfect. One friend notices Masaki and curiously asks why he is with Yuzuki, while Yuzuki deflects by talking about waking up early, leaving him scrambling for an excuse. As Masaki panics internally, he thinks that if these girls heard about confessions or threesomes, his school life would be over. Overwhelmed, he clutches his bag and tells himself he has to get out quickly, slipping away while Yuzuki watches him leave through the crowd. Just as he starts to walk off, Yuzuki calls his name from behind, making him pause. She waves brightly and tells him she will see him tomorrow, cheerfully saying goodbye while her smile makes his heart pound. Turning back, Masaki narrates that he is sure there has never been a moment he felt happier about liking her than right then. Later on the train, an announcement thanks passengers and mentions the next stop, while a long-haired girl listens as Masaki's narration says only the crucial condition remains. The scene shifts to the mysterious younger twin sister, disguised in glasses and a mask, as the narration wonders whether the next step after this successful confession will lead to the feared threesome. Masaki rides the crowded night train again, surrounded by silhouettes that keep their distance from his intimidating figure. He remembers Yuzuki's words about a twin sister named Fuka and mulls over how the three of them are now linked by this strange condition. Images of his confession replay as Masaki recalls that Yuzuki, the girl he longed for, agreed to date him only if he would also go out with both of them, a condition he accepted in the heat of the moment. Still commuting, he admits it does not feel real yet and wonders if he is truly going to date two girls at once when people already misread his scary face. Imagining others' reactions, he thinks that someone like him dating two beauties would surely make people suspect he is blackmailing them, while kids cower behind a frightened mother. As more passengers prepare to board, Masaki notes that once the train fills up, fewer eyes will focus on him and he can relax a little. Just then someone taps him and he turns, nearly colliding face-to-face with the heavily disguised schoolgirl from earlier. He wonders why a schoolgirl is pressing so close and grows uneasy as she edges forward in the crush. An announcement warns that the doors are closing, and Masaki realizes the space will become even more cramped. He sees that rowdy college students boarding at this stop must be pushing her forward, leaving her unable to resist in the packed car. Determined to help, Masaki pulls her protectively against his chest while forcing a path through the crowd, apologizing as other passengers yelp in surprise and annoyance. One irritated guy clicks his tongue and starts to complain at Masaki from behind, bothered by the shoving. Once they reach a bit of open space, Masaki breathes in relief, glad he once played basketball because it lets him bulldoze through crowds, while the flustered girl apologizes repeatedly. Watching her nervously clutch her bag, he thinks she seems like a small, helpless animal and concludes his scary face probably frightened her more. Then he notices her uniform and recalls that it belongs to Shuka Girls Academy, the prestigious school Yuzuki mentioned. As he looks her over, he remembers that this is the academy of Yuzuki's twin sister and starts to connect the dots. When the train lurches, the girl stumbles against him, smacking into his chest and yelping, their bodies pressed together. Misaki, aware even through the uniform of how soft her chest is, panics that this is really bad while both apologize and insist it was their own fault. Trapped by the crowd, he realizes there is nowhere to escape and mentally curses how merciless the cramped train is as the shy girl remains pressed against him. He steels his resolve, vowing that even if anyone other than Yuzuki does this, his heart will not waver because he is a loyal man. Yet the sight of the girl's ample chest against him makes his body react anyway, and he begs forgiveness as a healthy high school boy who cannot fully control his hormones. When they arrive at his station and the announcement thanks passengers, Misaki staggers off, relieved to be freed from what he calls that sweet torture. Walking through the concourse, he tells himself he needs to think more carefully about this whole business with the twins, unaware that the masked girl is following behind. Panels show his and another pair of feet striding along, with the girl eventually quickening her pace to catch up. She suddenly grabs his sleeve from behind, startling him into a shout as he whirls around and she squeaks in fright. Misaki warns her not to trail after a guy with a frightening face like his and tells her not to worry about the train, advising her to keep her guard up around strangers. When she hesitantly asks if he heard her earlier, he turns back, confused, and asks what she means. Instead of answering, she seizes his hand and urges him to come with her, insisting rather forcefully that he follow. She leads him to a quiet spot near some lockers and removes her glasses, revealing they were fake as Misaki watches. He studies her and notes that her hair tie and mask also seem like deliberate disguises, wondering if his suspicion about her identity is right. Putting the pieces together, he calls her Fuka and asks if she is actually Tsubasa Yuzuki's twin sister, leaving the girl wide-eyed and flustered. Taking off her mask to reveal a beautiful face identical to Yuzuki's, she introduces herself as Tsubasa Fuka and says that since he did not flinch, he must have known about her. Misaki admits that if there is ever an exception to people avoiding him, it would be Yuzuki's little sister, while Fuka happily confirms that her big sister must have already told him. Remembering Yuzuki's condition that he could only date her if he also dated her twin, Misaki says he had indeed heard something like that. A glamorous shot shows Yuzuki and Fuka together, the narration contrasting their opposite personalities while emphasizing that their faces and bodies are perfectly identical. Brimming with energy, Fuka shouts for them to go as she drags a bewildered Misaki along, eager to skip small talk and move straight into whatever comes next. Fuka tilts her head in surprise and asks if Yuzuki really never told him that crucial part. With a wink, Fuka cheerfully says that when he dates Yuzuni she comes as a bonus, while he reveals that Yuzuki never mentioned that. Over a city backdrop, Misaki sputters that he understands then backtracks, while Fuka vows to make him understand firsthand and he grumbles at how suggestive that sounds. The scene shifts to an enormous high-rise hotel, showing its upscale interior as Fuka hurries inside with him. At a window over the glittering city, Fuka smiles that it is a lovely view and guesses it must look even better at night. In a luxurious suite, Misaki sweats, wondering why they ended up here and thinking in disbelief that she casually took a taxi straight to a luxury hotel he recognized at a glance. In a lavish fantasy image, Fuka sits eagerly atop him on the bed, reminding him she promised to make him understand firsthand and insisting this is exactly what she meant. Fuka presses a finger to his lips and confirms with calm seriousness that this is precisely why she brought him here. Misaki stares in shock as she indicates she wants it to happen right here on this bed. The focus drops to her chest as she leans in, saying he can have her however he would like, politely calling him Misaki-san. Sprawled invitingly on the bed, Fuka blushes and says she wants him to get to know her. As Misaki flusters and stammers, she starts unbuttoning, saying she wants him to know every inch of her and teasingly gestures at her chest. In a more revealing pose, Fuka leans forward and repeats that he can touch her wherever he would like. Overheated and trembling, Fuka lets out a soft sound while Misaki, face blazing, throws out his hands and yells her name, begging her to wait. Pressed close and breathing hard, Fuka admits that just hearing him say her name without honorifics sends shivers through her. Clutching her flushed face, she says it makes her whole body tingle, while Misaki thinks in horror that she is even worse than he imagined. Blushing but trying to stay composed, Fuka abruptly asks if Misaki is a virgin and he snaps back, demanding why that matters. When he indirectly confirms it, she smiles knowingly, saying it must be hard for him to make the first move and cheerfully offers to lead him. From between her thighs as she kneels over him, she purrs that dinner is served in front of him and invites him to partake. Still straddling him, Fuka bounces playfully and says all he has to do is use his hands to slip off her skirt. Misaki, blushing furiously, thinks how overwhelmingly aggressive it is to be pursued by someone with the same face as the girl he loves, while she softly calls his name. Reclining seductively, Fuka spells it out. A cute girl is lying before him offering herself if he is willing, and she asks if he will make her his. In a tighter, more vulnerable pose, she repeats in a breathy voice that if he is willing, she wants him to take her. Snapping out of it, Misaki yells at her to have some respect for herself, completely rejecting this. Turning away with a pout while he looks back awkwardly, Fuka says her face and figure are completely identical to Yuzuni's, and even tells him he can think of her as Yuzuni if that helps. In a chibai explanation, Fuka notes that very few people can tell the twins apart, while Yuzuki admits that if their hair and clothes matched, she could not distinguish them either. Back in the room, Fuka sits on the bed and says it is fine with her whether he can tell them apart or not. She beams at his baffled face and assures him either way is fine with her. Flopping on the mattress and kicking her legs, Fuka says she is only this forward because she is probably the dark-haired type, while he sweats and complains she is way too casual. With a carefree smile, Fuka calls the front desk, politely asking if she has reached reception. Still on the call, she cheerfully requests light brown hair dye to be sent up, while Masaki panics and yells if she is really about to dye her hair to match her sister's right now. After hanging up, Fuka sweetly says there is no need for him to tell them apart and that she wanted to show how serious she is, while Masaki, sweating, thinks she must be out of her mind. Standing beside the bed, Masaki admits he no longer doubts her resolve, and Fuka says she is glad. Sitting with her knees together and smiling bashfully, Fuka says that both she and Yuzuni look forward to a long future with him, while he points out this is exactly what worries him. Leaning toward her with concern, Masaki asks how she actually feels, reminding her she is agreeing to date a guy she just met. Facing him calmly on the bed, Fuka says being tossed into a two-timing arrangement like an afterthought does not bother her at all. Pressing a hand to her chest, she adds that there is more to it than that. Smiling gently, Fuka reveals this is not actually her first time meeting Masaki-san. Masaki's eye twitches as he frantically wonders if he forgot some past encounter with a relative who has the same face as the girl he loves. Fuka holds out her phone and tells him to look at something. On the screen is a candid shot of him at the station, and he mutters in confusion that it is a photo of himself. He stares, completely at a loss, and admits he has no memory of when it was taken. Fuka clasps her hands, beaming that she remembers the moment perfectly, while he shouts that that just sounds like outright stalking. Bowing and apologizing, Fuka explains she really wanted a photo of him, while Masaki shrugs that he is used to idiots taking pictures of his scary face as a dare, even if this feels different. With romantic fervor, she says merely following behind him was not enough, and she wanted to see him wherever she could. Her words echo in his head and Masaki stiffens, trying to confirm what she meant by following behind him. Winking, Fuka plainly says she has been stalking him, and that is exactly what she meant, leaving him to shout in exasperation why she would do that. Remembering, she says she never had the courage to face him directly, so shadowing him from behind was the best she could do, while he listens wide-eyed. Masaki can only say her story is quite something, before awkwardly asking how long she has been doing it. A flowery flashback shows cherry blossoms as Fuka narrates it started 2 months ago in April, when a spring breeze still lingered. On the train in that memory, Fuka rides in her shuka uniform, while narration says their school believes students must use public transit to understand the modern world. She recalls strange people repeatedly approaching her, and a man leans in close from behind sniffing her hair, making her eyes wide. Looking disturbed, Fuka remembers someone eventually outright smelling her hair beside her, the kind of creep who could probably wriggle out of being labeled a pervert. From a distance, a younger Masaki watches and thinks it looks so revolting it almost makes being groped seem preferable. The memory jumps to Masaki pushing between them as he did earlier that day, narration saying someone again stepped without hesitation between her and the creep. Fuka confronts the man, demanding his business card and ID, while Masaki to the side starts realizing the gallant stranger she remembers might be him. She recalls Masaki suddenly appearing with his terrifying aura and the creep instantly scattering in fear. Back in the present, she gushes that despite his intimidating appearance, his response then was precise and calculated, and she was impressed by how unexpectedly sharp it was, while he mutters that she is sneaking in an insult. Masaki scratches his head, saying he cannot remember which incident that was because he has seen many like it, and always tries to handle them without women seeing his face. Fuka sits up straight, insisting that single act alone was enough for her to agree to be added as a bonus and date him, though Masaki protests it seems like too little reason. With tears trembling in her eyes, she asks if it is really so wrong to fall for someone over just that. Turning aside and puffing her cheeks, she reminds him she is a teenage girl and says unless it is some marriage contract she does not need a logical reason to fall for someone, even if he complains they are going in circles. Leaning in with sultry eyes and a raised hand, Fuka declares that if he will not make a move, then she will. Before she can close the distance, Yuzuki's voice suddenly cuts in from off-panel, shouting for them to wait and stopping everything. Masaki and Fuka whip around to see Yuzuki storming toward them, both crying out her name in shock as she glares. In flustered chibai panels, Yuzuki demands what Fuka thinks she is doing, while Fuka happily says she is jumping the man who is going to date both of them. All three end up on the bed, Fuka clinging to Masaki with hearts floating, while Yuzuki sighs that her sister is at least straightforward, and Masaki splutters whether being straightforward really makes this okay. Later, a serious Yuzuki checks her phone and when asked how she knew, says Fuka had texted her. Holding the screen to her lips, Yuzuki explains that Fuka messaged she was bringing Masaki to their hotel, which leaves him stunned. Arms folded, Yuzuki notes that having him here actually makes it easier to move things forward, while Masaki realizes she is not only rich but owns the hotel. The panel cuts to Yuzuki lifting her skirt onto the bed, as she mentions that if he really wants that threesome he was after, there is a way. Yuzuki and Fuka press close together on the mattress, giving sultry smiles as they say they would welcome it and could even do it right here. Outside the closed suite door, Masaki's voice nervously insists he first needs to get a handle on everything that has happened. A montage shows the tower's top floor in the sparkling suite where Masaki now sits awkwardly opposite the twins. Realizing this is the Tsubasa family's secondary residence. Relaxing on the sofa, Yuzuki says this is the place she and Yuzuni use while commuting to school, while a tiny Masaki head notes that being in the home of the girl he likes makes the class gap feel more intimidating than exciting. Sitting side by side, the twins suggest they sort everything out. Yuzuki recounts Masaki confessing on the condition he date both her and Fuka, while Fuka bashfully admits she stalked him and dragged him to a hotel to rush things. In a comedic strip, Yuzuki says that in the end she put a stop to her idiot little sister's antics. The narration chibifies both girls as Yuzuki protests that test scores do not measure intelligence. Fuka argues they get the same grades in every subject, and Masaki marvels that Yuzuki acts like a different person at home. Yuzuki turns to Masaki and says she understands his confusion so far, then correctly guesses he wants to know why both twins want to date him. Blushing slightly, Yuzuki clears her throat and says the answer goes back to a certain time. In her flashback, Yuzuki remembers April days growing warmer as she walked alone through the city, thinking she did not hate the noise but sometimes wanted solitude, when something caught her attention. She narrates how, while wandering, a group of college guys started aggressively hitting on her. Remembering their persistence, Yuzuki shows herself growing irritated as they refused to give up, and she was about to snap at them. At that moment, Masaki happened to walk by, radiating such a terrifying aura that the panel's mood turns dark around him. Yuzuki remembers how he simply glared, and the guys ended up begging for their lives and fleeing, while in the present she apologizes that her story makes his actions sound painful. Masaki says he does not remember that incident at all, explaining he has seen too many like it and always hurries home so his scary face will not further frighten the women, while she is shocked he never noticed it was her. In chibai form, Fuka protests that his face does not scare her at all, while Masaki muses that showing it then would only make women more anxious. Yuzuki looks down, saying that because of that tiny moment he never registered, everything changed. Pointing at him with a smile, she says she fell for him. Masaki sweats, wondering if such simple triggers are really all it took for both twins, and concludes the real cause behind this mess must be something else. Throwing up his hands, he asks if the two of them are just hopelessly love-crazy playgirls. With shadowed eyes and flat voices, the twins answer in unison that they are not like that at all. They sit close on either side of Masaki, knees touching his, and stare at him with serious, expectant expression. They say it is not only their faces and figures. Their emotions and actions have always synchronized so perfectly that no one had ever been a romantic prospect for either of them until now, but his arrival proves they can fall together. A montage shows school tests and mirrored poses as they say they had never fallen for anyone before, and even when they finally did, their feelings, reactions, and posture matched in every detail. Facing him side by side, Fuka and Yuzuki smile tenderly and say together that this is the reason. An image of two hands together overlaid with DNA strands accompanies their explanation that their impulses and feelings emerge in both of them simultaneously, denying logic and probability. A grand illustration labels them destined twins, emphasizing that their bond and synchronized hearts are almost fated. They say that because of that destiny, they had been searching for someone both of them could genuinely fall for. With shining eyes and fingers entwined, the twins proclaim this is a once-in-a-lifetime chance for them too and promise to do anything from now on to make Masaki fall for them both. Misaki sweats, thinking that if he is really the one chosen by the destined twins, then since he trusts Yuzuki never to lie, he should extend that same faith to Fuka too. In a stark, grainy silhouette beside a ghostly twin-shaped outline, he admits this miraculous bond might feel like destiny for him as well. Facing the beaming twins as they lean toward him, he decides this is a miraculous encounter and, steeling himself, internally declares he is in. The twins jolt with delighted cries, their chests bouncing as they tense up in excitement at his acceptance. In an explosive shot, determined Misaki stands between them as they press their breasts forward, both challenging him with fiery resolve to bring it on with both twins at once. Hearts floating around them, the sisters wrap themselves snugly around Misaki from both sides, happily saying they are counting on him while he flusters, thinking this is exactly the situation he had imagined. Blushing and closing their eyes, Fuka and Yuzuki kiss his cheeks at the same time, calling him their destined one and affirming that as destiny twins they have finally found him, while he sits frozen in disbelief. Pulling back, the two girls share a bashful, satisfied look, hands to their lips as they giggle together. Misaki, face burning and heart pounding, clutches his cheek and admits to himself that with how warm and intense this feels, there is no way a healthy high school guy like him lets a chance like this slip by. Imagining the future, he thinks that while it is still early with Fuka, he is sure he will genuinely like her too someday, just as the twins lean in and teasingly ask if he wants to go all the way already. He recoils in a panic, yelling that jumping straight to a three-person situation is way too fast and insisting there has to be a proper order, while the girls pout playfully behind him. In a lighter moment, Fuka grumbles that he is being too stiff. Yuzuki suggests they should not push him too hard yet, and Misaki, overwhelmed, confirms he really is their first love as Yuzuki suddenly remembers something and calls his name. Standing in a bright, cozy room, the twins beam at him with sparkling eyes and announce that starting today he will be living here, declaring with hearts in their voices that this luxurious place is his new home. As the city skyline stretches under a calm sky, Misaki's shocked what echoes, and narration beside his bewildered face notes the lesson he is learning is to never shout that anything goes in the heat of the moment.